now we're going to talk about basic cornering techniques and room entries. Now the first technique we're going to talk about is something that's known as slicing the pie. Now if we want to look around a corner into an area that's a threat, instead of just walking around this corner and walking into a potential threat, what we do is a technique called slicing the pie. And done correctly, it can be very effective. We start with the firearm in what we call a close guard, so the gun level. As we start to look around this corner, we just take very small pieces of the corner. And then once I see that there's no threat there, then I advance a little bit more. And as I do this, I can begin to see pieces of a corner. And then right now, I can see that there's a threat there, and I haven't committed myself behind an area of concealment or cover. So, with a flashlight in my hand and a level gun concept, I can make sure that I align three things: eye, weapon, and light, and start to work around the corner like this. If the area is dark, I can turn my flashlight off, move a little bit, turn it back on, just making sure that I check the threat environment before I move into it. Now, this allows me to gain valuable intelligence as I work around a corner, and also I can start to see what my next problem might be. This is called slicing the pie. Now, if we were to do it another way and do it left-handed, I would need to switch the gun into my support hand. The reason being is if I try to corner and slice a pie, stay right-handed, look how much of my body I have to get around that corner before I can get my light and my gun around that corner. So it's very important that we learn to shoot both left and right-handed if we're going to work inside of a threat environment, so that I can slice the pie left-handed just like I slice the pie right-handed. And I only commit as much of my body as necessary to come look around that corner. Eye, weapon, light around the corner. This allows me to slice the pie. Now what we're going to talk about are two basic room entry techniques. Right now, we're just going to talk about this doorway and going through the threshold of this doorway into a room, and not going to worry about any of these other threats. We're just going to talk about this doorway right here. Now, if I want to enter a room, I would really like to see as much into that room as I can before I have to step through this threshold. Because there could be some danger in there, and if there is, I want to make sure I can see it from the outside, make some good decisions about what to do about it first. So the first thing we want to do is what's called a slice the pie, like we talked about earlier, where I'm going to slice the pie across this doorway. I'm the number one man, slicing the pie across the doorway. James, who's the number two man, is going to post on this side of the door. So as I slice the pie and come here all the way across the doorway, I'm left standing on the other side of the door. Now, if James and I were to both stay standing up, and I were to step into the room, there's nothing James can do to protect me from this deep corner if I stay standing up. Do you see how he has to move his gun out of the way? And if there's somebody over in this deep corner, they can shoot me in the back before James can even see it. But by changing my elevation, James staying tall and me squatting down, we can make simultaneous entry into the room. We can get two eyes, two guns, and two lights into this room all at the same time. And we call this a high-low crisscross. The number one man goes low. Number two man stays high. I'm going to slowly start to make my entry into this room, and James is going to come right across the top of it. That way, James can protect me as I come in the doorway, and I can protect James as he comes in the doorway. We call that a high-low crisscross. Now, we don't always have the luxury of being able to walk across this doorway and get on the other side like we'd like to. We want to see as much of the room as we can. Sometimes we have to stay on the same side of the doorway. Now, if we do that and we both try and get into this room, if we both stay standing, you can see how if I try and come into the room standing up and come this way, look how far I have to be into the room before James can get his weapon and his light to protect me. There's no way he can protect me from that corner as long as I stay standing up. But if I change my elevation as the number one man, if I just get low, James can get his gun and his light on top of me. And as I start to pie around my corner, nice and low and nice and slow, I can get my weapon, my light, my eye into this room and start to look while James protects me that way. So we can continue this movement just like this, nice and low and nice and slow. Eventually, we're going to want to make entry into this room. When I do that, I just come and get that corner, James gets his corner, and we make entry into the room. We call that a modified entry. We're both on the same side of the door, so the number one man goes low.